It would be nice to think that that collective voice from people of different ages and different walks of life, explaining how awful it is, would have some resonance where it needs to be heard.
A team of researchers at Michigan State has a growing collection of extremely personal stories on how the deadly shooting on their campus has impacted people of all walks of life. Our Josh Berry has a look at how the Michigan Diaries project got its start at MSU and its role in the tragedy on campus and beyond.
The project opens the door for people across the country to express themselves anonymously, and they make it easy to share through a smartphone app called Michigan Diaries.
Human history has, since the beginning, been recorded through spoken word. It's the primary way we express ourselves, but it has evolved as much as the world around it has, and it continues to change to this day. Inside the linguistics department at Michigan State University, Drs. Betsy Sneller and Suzanne Wagner have made a career of studying the way we talk.
We're here to track changes, ideally for the next 50 years.
But one of the most critical points in any of our lives happened a week after Dr. Sneller was hired at MSU in 2020.
This was going to be a fascinating time for language.
The pandemic put a wrench in many of their plans, but they knew it would have historical effects on our interactions with each other.
Which is important for language and language change and language development. If there's any way that we can document this, we got to get on it.
So they came up with Michigan COVID Diaries.
Working in the healthcare system, I'm very stressed.
A way for people to still have their voice heard, but from a distance.
The shelves with all the paper products were completely empty.
Diarists orally recorded their lives, whatever it may have looked like.
We're in our 6th week of distance learning for our students. This is not something I was trained to do.
Dr. Sneller does have her self-described nerdy questions about language and how it changes over time, but she says the project is twofold.
The bigger side of things is we are collecting these stories from people who are talking about their everyday lives. This is really valuable data because even though it might seem boring, that's the kind of data that tells historians what everyday life was like and how everyday life changed.
The project, now with 20 undergrads and 4 grad students behind it, has transformed from people orally documenting their pandemic lives to observations of daily life.
But I'm really tired of this winter taking out our power.
They now simply call it Michigan Diaries.
We ask them things like, tell us about a time when you got lost and you couldn't figure out how to go home again. Or really sometimes quite silly questions like, pineapple on pizza, yay or nay, right?
It's a chance for anyone in Michigan to record their authentic voice. They only ask that you frame it as if you're talking to your best friend.
You can cry, you can swear, you can, whatever. Hang out, talk into your phone, and that's the authentic voices that we're hoping to hear.
Inevitably, people create entries over the same topic.
Prop 3 was the most important contest to me personally.
It leads to special collections like Roe v. Wade and the Oxford High School shooting.
I saw my teacher's face drop. Even though she's wearing a mask, I could still see it. And then she said, "This is not a drill."
911, what's the location of your emergency?
Berkey Hall, Michigan State University. There's a shooting.
It was no different.
Somebody was shot. I believe more than one person.
When a gunman killed 3 Michigan State students and wounded 5 others.
Really, as soon as this event happened, as soon as I heard about it, I kind of had this sinking feeling of we're going to have to do a special collection about this.
They named this one the Spartan Strong Collection.
I was afraid to even check in with my friends.
Somebody said, it is so surreal to be in the group of people that is being sent thoughts and prayers right now. And something about that just it's really true.
But what Dr. Sneller and Wagner couldn't have predicted was how the community their project created would respond.
Definitely have the team and the Spartans on my mind.
When I saw that entry come in, I actually started crying.
But there was something really extra amazing about hearing from people from up and down Michigan, sending us those messages and experiences.
I wish we would never have these events, ever. But if we're going to have them, I wish that everybody could feel that sort of this hits close to home feeling.
The messages poured in, unsolicited, diarists leaving words of support.
I want you to know that we're not just doing this for ourselves. We're not just sending in diaries because you asked us to. We're doing it. I'm doing this because I think about you and I care about you, and I'm thinking about you right now. I wasn't expecting this project to produce a community that would in turn support me as a researcher and my students as researchers. And that was something that was really, really powerful.
While they acknowledge their professional responsibility in collecting this data, it still helps them because they're still hurting. Dr. Wagner lives 5 minutes from Berkey Hall and has taught in that building.
What was so frightening for me listening to the scanner was all the different places around campus where the shooter might have been, and having a very clear picture in my head of what all those locations were.
And Dr. Sneller was at home with her baby.
You know, I was like in the middle of putting this new life to sleep, and meanwhile, somebody came to my workplace to bring death. And this, you know, this is the closest personal experience that I've had with a mass shooting, and I was kind of surprised how much it impacted me immediately.
Through their project, they found healing and therapy.
People will often end their very first diary entry with something like, oh wow, that was really therapeutic.
But they've also found a bond from people around the country.
This isn't just story collection, it's story community. It's important that we come together as a group.
And while there may be data to collect on how diarists address the tragedy and the change in language used, maybe there's also room for this collection and the series as a whole to help break the cycle of school shootings.
I think one of the things that is devastating to me personally is that we only have 4 special collections and 2 of them are about a mass shooting. You know, it's my hope that the data that we're collecting can be part of a push for change as part of that historical documentation.
Michigan Diaries is typically reserved for Michiganders, but they opened the Spartan Strong collection to people all around the country because they saw how many people felt connected to this tragedy. We did also have very insightful conversations about the preservation of these audio diaries while keeping them private, and how all of this differs from what we do, journalism, and the trust that they have with people who take part. I have those additional interview clips with this story on our website, as well as a link to be able to share your own thoughts with the Michigan Diaries Project. In the studio, I'm Josh Berry, Fox 17 News.